Good morning. The Building and Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 18th, 2026 will come to order at 10:02. All right, thank you. I will go around and have you all introduce yourself so that everybody's aware, and the recorder it makes it easier for her. I'm Shirley Mazinski, Chairman of the Building and Facilities Committee.
Linda Brown, Vice Chair.
Carol Gogolinsky.
Brett Fontaine.
John Bagaglio.
Bob Wormy.
Margaret Bacon, new member.
Thank you.
I did get sworn in on Monday, so I should be all set.
Great, welcome.
Okay.
And
John Charbonneau, Town Planner.
Thank you. All right, I believe we all agreed that at the request of Joe, I'm sorry, John?
John.
Yes, sorry. That we agreed to review the Building and Facilities Construction Committee bylaw. And also, it's not on here, but we do have building facilities meeting of Wednesday, February 18th to look over. And if you want, we can put it off till the next meeting. Okay. So we have the bylaw in front of us, and if you would like.
Sure. So, having looked at this, and just I hope everybody had a chance to take a peek at this last week when it was sent out or between the meetings. So, I don't think there's any questions about the purpose or the establishment in terms. There are some non-voting members. That was something that was an education to me. The town engineer is an ex officio member of this. And then if there are departments, committees, or others that are proponents for a project, they can assign a liaison to work with this committee for the development and follow-on of said project. So an example of that would be like the DPW barn. Someone from the DPW could be the person that says, this is what we need, this is what it needs to look like, this is that, and they're talking to us to make sure that we're identifying the needs of that agency, department, committee, et cetera, right? It also says that the committee shall appoint at least one project proponent for each project, right? So that could be us to that too. So for every project we talk about every month, this one could be mine, this one could be yours, this one could be his, and we would be the ones providing that update, not solely just the town administrator, right? So that's one thing. And then the bigger one that I got into, authorities and responsibilities. So we're responsible for stuff over $50,000 in value, and that's probably because of state bid law. That's where public bid starts, under Chapter 149. But, so the authorities and responsibilities. So, in our jurisdiction, including project manager selection, if necessary, designer selection, site planning, preliminary architectural plans and drawings, detailed drawings, bid documents, and construction supervision. So we are here to provide the town the ability to do that when we're doing public works or works here, right? So how do we assign that? How do we monitor that? And then specifically, develop, maintain, and implement a municipal building and facilities needs plan. In my business, we call that a capital improvement strategy. And that is a inventory of your real property, so the inventory of the facilities and buildings that the town owns, with some sort of assessment of its condition, and then a plan for when it needs parts replaced, maintained, etc. So, like what I do where I'm at, we literally have an inventory of every building, every boiler, every rooftop package unit, every piece of capital equipment. We've inspected it and we've aged it. So, example, standard standing pilot boiler that you might have in a building like this probably has a 50% life cycle of 60 years. So at 60 years, that same model, half of them have failed, right? So once you're at that point, you're on the wrong side of the average. So if you know that, and you know what you have, and you know you have that unit, well, you probably should start planning its replacement around the 50-year mark because you have to go ahead and get it programmed, budgeted through town meeting, right, a bond, whatever, to do that project. I don't know if we have a plan. I don't know if we've ever had a plan. I don't know where that plan is if we do. If we have one, we should probably take a look at it. Or, okay. All right, there we go. But it's new to me, right? And I'm sure it's new to some other folks too. And then because of that plan, you can assist policy boards and departments in prioritizing projects and developing contract documents, then make recommendations for that. So the way I see this, the way I'm reading this, is that we as a committee should be looking at this plan and saying, this is the stuff that's programmed for the next year or 2 or 3. How are we getting that in front of meeting? Do we still need it? Do we not need it? Do we need to change it? And then there's always the competing priorities of the emergency stuff that slides in, right? And then how do you move that on your work plan? And that is what I think this committee is supposed to do. Maybe I'm misreading it. I'm open to other people's opinions or whatnot. But if that's the case, is how do we move forward in reviewing that plan, making notes on that plan, making recommendations on that plan, and then helping with the execution of that, right? That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question for Margaret. So what did you just hold up over there?
Well, in my conversations with Dan Heaney, and maybe Shirley, you might remember this. I guess he was telling me back in 2000, and it's old, 2008, he said there was a study done on comprehensive building use study. Final report was done by a consultant.
Name of
And it's old.
consultant?
Geez, I can hardly read it. DV Architects. Oh, Derlian?
Durland Van Voorhees.
Oh, Van Voorhees.
Oh,
Duran, yeah.
And I just got this last night, so I don't know, but, it's a starting
Right.
point.
Sure.
Because it goes, somebody spent a lot of time going through the different facilities. And not only that, so there's that, and then on the master plan committee, the Central Regional Planning, they also reviewed a lot of the town facilities. So, between the two of them, it's some homework, but we can start to, get our bearings on what you
Absolutely.
were talking about.
Sure.
So what is that titled again?
Yeah, Jen dug it up for me. This is, it's called the town, here, you can just, want to pass that over?
Carol had asked
Oh, I'm
me
Yeah, I
at one
asked you if
point,
you knew where it
and
was.
I'm like,
Because you'd been here forever.
no,
Oh, yes.
almost.
But we got lucky. Jen was able to pull it out of the folder rather easily. She didn't have to
Good.
dig too far, so.
Good.
That is a miracle,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
And I just, like I said, Dan Heaney mentioned it when he used to be on this committee years ago. He's
Right.
Look into that, so that's how I heard about it.
Does it
Brett,
mention that the town administrator is joining us via Zoom? I don't want the notes.
Jen had said he was going to.
There he is.
yeah?
Oh,
He's
there
there.
he is.
I don't know if everybody knew in the minutes.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Matt? I don't know if he's,
You're on mute, Matt.
On mute.
Matt?
Can you hear us?
Can hear us. We can't hear you.
Can you see us?
There he is.
There we go.
Matt, are you there?
Yeah, it just takes a second to
Yep.
work the Zoom.
Sorry to hear you're not feeling up to par, but just want to make sure you're with us, if you are.
I am.
Yeah, hear you. Just let us know if you have anything you would like to mention while we're on, and if you heard the discussion so far.
Yeah, I've been on,
Okay, thank
I
you.
got on about 5
Thank-
minutes late, but I've been on the whole time.
Yep.
I don't know, it's an open-ended question, Madam Chair. What do you want me to do?
No, it's okay, as long as you're aware. I'd like to see that after.
Sure.
Or pass it around to whoever.
I'll just pass it
Yeah.
around.
Okay, anyone else? Comments on what John is?
Well, I have
Carol?
a comment in so much as I think, this really realizes that, we need to get more involved. And one of the things I think that we should do, especially with this new town garage is coming up, we have hardly any information on it. I would
No.
like to see us set up a workshop to work on these things. Get maybe 3 people from this committee that are willing to meet and, spend some time really looking into it and then bring what they know back to this committee. And I would like to actually make a motion to set up a workshop.
Hold it, 1 minute.
But go ahead.
So, just to be fair, there has been work ongoing on this garage, and it could be any article or any item. First of all, I think we need to know what has been, because I believe our architect, whatever, firm has been putting, I don't know, but this is what we need to find out first. What's been put into it, and, and then where do we go?
Well, then I think that committee could be the one to really look into it, because quite frankly, the only thing I've ever seen is a picture of maybe something, and that's it. That's all we've seen.
But could we first have what's been put out, or what's been worked on by the architect and by the sort of a subcommittee that they've been doing with the highway department, and we were involved in that in the beginning, just to which committee, which area, the police or the fire department, and then and the highway. And one of the things that was picked out that was in the need for most was the highway. But along the way, we got items that needed to be done for the fire department. The police department, I think, was minimal, if anything. And so where does this is my opinion, where does this fit in as we go along? And is this going to be brought up at the town meeting? I don't know yet. So that's only my thought.
Okay, well, Madam Chair, the thing is, we're running out of time. If this thing is going to be brought up at the town meeting, we're
don't
running
know
out of
that.
time. Well, let's ask Matt.
Matt?
Hold on. It's not going to come up in the spring. I think some of the comments always reflect the same, I'm going to call it a problematic mindset, which is that there's an assumption that there's a whole bunch of conversation that occurs that no one else is being informed of. But that's not happening, right? The designer has been asked to provide a conceptual drawing that was supposed to be ready this spring, and it's my understanding that they're working on it. The entire issue with the highway department building proposal is that the designer's cost estimate has been too high. So as it's currently constituted, it's not happening. And I think there's a failure to recognize the fact that the administration of the town does not support wild-eyed spending. We are going to build a project only if it is affordable and a good value for the people of the town. And if it's taking us time to arrive at an appropriate approach for this, then so be it, right? You're not spending any money. But it won't come up this spring because there isn't enough time to build consensus amongst the various committees of the town around any potential design. What we're really working on right now is the approach. So with the passage of time, there's more and more angst at the municipal level, municipal leaders, regarding the way this design-build format forces us to spend too much money. And we have one incumbent designer, Weston & Sampson, that is turning relatively small, simple garages into $30 million projects. So what's happened is another community not that far from us and about the same size as us took the approach that I've been suggesting now for a while. They chose an owner's project manager who made very specific demands of the architectural industry and found a designer that would actually do a prudent project and cut the cost of a highway garage from $30-some-odd million down to 5.9. That's more in the ballpark of what I would consider to be a viable project to defend the longevity of $500,000 or $1 million worth of assets for the highway department, as well as other assets in the town. You have a building that's been in service for almost 100 years. It really is kind of time to start having a conversation, but there's no rush. There's no rush. It's going to be done right or not at all. As for the more general topic, this bylaw it's almost like it was written as a reaction to something that had happened in the town a long time ago. This was passed in 2006. At the time, you had what was referred to as an executive administrator. It really was up to the select board to run the town. The executive administrator came to work every day and made sure bills got paid, mail was done in a timely fashion, meeting notices and all. It was really a administrative job, pure and simple, almost bordering on clerical. And subsequent to that, you passed the Town Administrator Act, and it was passed both by the state legislature and by the voters of the town of Douglas. And that act contemplates a very different format for town government, where the town administrator is the chief procurement officer, which under state law means responsible for a whole bunch of very important things with regard to building and facilities. And the direct charge in the act is that the town administrator is responsible for the repair and maintenance of all the buildings. My personal view is, notwithstanding what the words say, nobody's going to argue what the words say in the bylaw. You have to take the next step and think, can a committee that meets once, maybe even twice a month, do all this? And that would be my strong concern is, first of all, I don't like committees dealing with simple executive decisions. The lowest price is the lowest price. There's day-to-day construction things that happen. We hire out specifically for construction supervision. It's not the role of a committee, it's the role of an individual who's going to be held accountable for whether they perform or not as a construction supervisor. So there are some things in this bylaw that are well-intentioned, and like I say, I think they were done in a reaction to an abuse by an executive administrator of their authority. And if my memory serves me correctly, or if I've been told the correct thing, since it was 11 years before he started working for the town, you had a gentleman who went out and did a bunch of roof projects that may not have been in a budget, and it didn't necessarily follow procurement law. And I don't even know that he went to town meeting. So that's really problematic, right? So you obviously had to do something as a town to effectively change that, not let that happen again. But you're no longer that town. You have a completely different statutory framework for the roles and responsibilities of the different folks. The one thing that I think is without dispute is that there are no state laws dealing with designer selection or the naming of an owner's project manager at the local level. Those laws apply to the state and the agents of the Commonwealth in selecting people for projects. The locals are allowed to build their own regulations for those topics. In the case of Douglas, you have that. You have the Building Facilities Committee that is responsible for designer selection and, as a natural corollary to that, picking an owner's project manager. And keeping tabs on projects the way a building committee would in a typical school building project, right? You get regular updates. There's a lot more transparency, a lot more ability to ask questions and to hold people accountable as the process unfolds, rather than waiting for a decision to accept a project or not accept a project. that's kind of, that's where I'm at with listening to the dialogue. I'm fine for any help that people want to provide. There's an awfully big mandate, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of this that's day-to-day management. And unless you want to make that kind of commitment, and if you do, I'm anxious to have a facilities manager on my payroll, supported at town meeting, and then apply for the job. That's what we really need, right? Secondly, just because you haven't asked for it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There are very detailed records about all of our major assets in town that are maintained by either the school facilities manager or by Adam Furno at the Highway Department. We have file upon file of every single HVAC appliance or heating appliance, when it was last serviced, who it was serviced by, what it cost, and when the next schedule is. The reality is this, folks. Up until the last 4 or 5 years, the town of Douglas hasn't had enough money and has not prioritized building facility maintenance or capital investment. You just haven't been able to do it. It takes a lot of money. And it wasn't until after the override that you began to have enough headroom to do that. Because up until that point, you were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in free cash just to keep the lights on. So to some extent, a lot of what this committee's mandate was didn't happen because it was kind of a moot point. You weren't doing anything with your buildings. You didn't put any roofs in. You didn't replace any air handlers. You just didn't for the better part of a decade.
Thank you. Any questions for Matt?
Well, I have a question. I'm
Carol?
trying to get this all together. But basically, what I'm hearing Matt say is they don't want us in on the grassroots of this. Basically, that doesn't seem to be, they don't want...
No, Madam Chairman, I'm not going to allow people to put words in my mouth.
All right, well, I'm asking you, is that what you're saying? Because...
Absolutely not.
Well, then
I
do we
resist the
get,
notion
Carol,
that every time I say something that's contrary to your position, my motives are attacked. Baloney. You can have lots of transparency, and the grassroots can and should be involved. And it starts with designer selection. That's where the accountability is making sure that the designer responds to your requests. But the notion that, we just want to make this a little narrow group of people that decide it, is absolute junk. That's not how Douglas runs. It never has, and it never will.
Response?
Yes. If you have some people who might be able to add some input into this, because I know I know what you're running up against, and I can understand it. They'll have to send you these very expensive buildings, and you're saying, listen, we're not going to spend that kind of money. And I certainly respect that, and I think the town does too. But I think that you might have some people who might come up with some ideas. You're trying to give these designers an idea, like, let's get something that's a little more, financially responsible here. We've got some people here who might be able to help you with a couple of other ideas that might work that way. That's all I'm saying. And it's not that we're trying to change what you're doing. And you know that I have extreme respect for you for the money numbers, because you have it, that's for sure. But I think that there's some people we could maybe give you some ideas, that's all.
And ideas are always welcome, and we share them in quite a few venues, right? We've shared these concepts at Finance Committee, we've shared them here, and we share them at the Select Board. And there is a point at which we have to agree to disagree, with all due respect. And I respect Carol as much as she respects me. I respect the experience and the insight. And it's some of what Carol has injected into this debate, Madam Chair, that is my backstop in my mind as to what it would take to build consensus around a project. But I don't necessarily agree with every idea that Carol's had, and I've been very clear, I thought, in laying out the groundwork for lack of a better term, rejecting the idea of buying an existing building and rehabbing it. there were a number of things that just didn't make sense from my perspective in terms of long-term value for the town and preparing for the future. If you're going to build a highway barn every 100 years, then build one that will last at least 30, you know, and in terms of its size and what it needs to do. And, you know, unfortunately, the designer here has had a tin ear. Our directions, my directions to this designer have been very, very clear. If you don't give me a design with a prefabricated building, a building that can be manufactured off-site and installed on-site with labor hired at prevailing wage, if you can't do that for me, because that's where we save the money, then I'm not interested. It's not a viable project because there's too much involved in the standard design build from scratch and cut the stuff on site. As garbage, we have technology today that have made things possible for us to order stuff that can be assembled on site. And for crying out loud, if they can build a 1.1 million square foot warehouse on parts that are imported on the back of trucks over the course of a couple months, we should be able to put up a highway barn without going through this nonsense that we have to go through. So it's been to some degree the stubbornness of this designer and insisting that they get their cut of the pie, because that's what this is about, let's be honest, right? It's about them getting their 10%, and then the contingency on top of that, and then the OPM on top of that. You know, it just gets really stupid after a while. The town of Douglas is not an ATM machine. We are not going to go along with this, and I have spoken to every state official who listened to me. I've had a meeting with the Inspector General. I have had a meeting with the Auditor General. I've had several meetings with all of our legislators, all pushing towards one concept in procurement, which is if I can buy supplies for a water project without having to pay the markup, I should be able to buy supplies for a building project without having the markup. And until everybody gets their head wrapped around how important that is for a municipality, we're going to be stuck with the environment that we're in, the laws that we have. So I'm appreciative of the fact that the town of Sheffield has found a way to do this, and I'm going to follow their model exactly, because it's exactly the outcome I'd like to have. I don't necessarily want the same conclusion that they reached, but I understand why they reached their conclusion. They did have to buy a new piece of property, and the piece of property they had to buy had a building on it, so they're going to keep the building. But that's the same, almost same thing as what we're doing. We're keeping part of the existing highway barn, the more new part, the part that's more flexible and utilitarian in value. We're just adding a storage facility for all our stuff so that we can begin to move around and fix up some of the smaller buildings where we've shoved God knows how much of our highway stuff. You know, everybody wants the roads to be better, so now we have two, not one, but two hot boxes on the road. Where am I putting all this stuff? And, you know, how can we be sure that it's safe and secure and not subject to leaks or other conditions inside the building? These are all the things that have been percolating, and we have a backhoe that, you know, really is kind of on its way out. I don't like the idea of spending almost $1 million on a piece of equipment and then storing it outside because we don't have any place to put it. To me, that's just incredibly irresponsible, and that's been, along with the air quality in the existing building, the primary motivation for what we're doing. I don't want to lose sight of this, folks. We did a qualified environmental assessment of the air inside the highway barn, and it was unhealthy. And there's a problem with doing the test and knowing the results and not acting. So we are doing the best we can to get the appropriate solution, but it does have to happen. There's no rush, but it has to happen.
If I may. So what do you need help with? Do we need to fire the designer? Do you need someone to help you corner the designer? Do you need to tell the designer to go, you're not, it's basic requirement, can you do this for this money? And if he can't give you a feasibility for that, get rid of Weston and Sampson. I work with Weston Sampson all the time, they suck. I'm not gonna lie to you. They're good for solar shit, they're not good for anything else. So do we need to find a different designer? Do we need to find an in-house designer? I understand this needs to get done. How can we help you get it done? You sound frustrated about the fact that you're getting pinched and pushed around by these guys. So let's find someone else to help you out. And we have 8 people sitting here, a couple which can absolutely help you out. So let's get, no one's arguing with you about the need. And my point of reading this, right, because I came here to help and I want to volunteer my time and I want to do it right and I want to do it in the guidelines of the bylaw. So if the bylaw is wrong, that's easy too. Let's fix it. If you don't want the help, I'm just trying to understand that this is a guideline and we're operating in that guideline. If you want this body to help you prioritize work, we'll gladly do that too. I understand you're the corporate procurement officer. That doesn't mean you're the construction manager either, though. Right? I deal with that too. I have CPOs in where I work all the time now. Contract administration is their bailiwick. Construction administration isn't necessarily. That doesn't mean they don't know how, but their key is contract administration, which is hard enough on its own. Never mind then getting into the negotiations and the nuance of everything else. So there is talent and people on this board that can assist you. Tell us how we can assist you.
So primarily, I think what we need is accountability, right? And not my accountability, but the accountability of the designers. And this is just a new thought. This isn't something I've been frustrated about. This is thinking about the role of this board and how it can be helpful. A traditional building committee, so let's say a school building committee, you're following the progress of the project and you are involved with checks and balances. So there's whether we shall add an extra 1,000 square feet or not. That's not a decision that should be made by the chief procurement officer. That should be made by a committee of people, right? And if it's not the selectmen, and they've delegated that responsibility through this bylaw, or its town meeting has delegated the responsibility from the selectmen to the Building Facilities Committee, that's where it comes in, right? What is the nature of the project? Is it going to be within certain boundaries, or is it going to be within certain boundaries? And then as the work progresses, is it being handled? Is it being conducted in a way that's on schedule, under budget? What communication is there about different aspects that might require a change order? And discussion of change orders and whether or not they should be approved. You know, ultimately the CPO has to make that decision whether a change order needs to be approved under a contract, and will rely upon legal counsel. But when it comes to the merits of whether or not the design should have been well thought through to prevent change orders, then that's a conversation that needs to occur in public, could occur at the Building Facilities Committee. Like I said before, I think you have an unquestionable mandate to participate in and guide and decide up to a point, the designer selection process. If my recollection is correct on the bylaw, the final selection of a designer goes to the select board. And we only had 2 in the process, Weston and Sampson. I don't even remember the other firm's name. So we ended up with this house doctor that, for the most part, has on smaller projects has been able to deliver, and we've been reasonably happy with their work. In some cases, they've done better work than a couple of the other firms that we've used in the past. But on this bigger project, they just see dollar signs, and you know, going back to accountability, it's one thing to have a conversation with me on the phone or an exchange of emails. It's another thing entirely to be in public at a meeting on camera and being held accountable. I think that that's a really powerful and useful tool for the town, to have a group of people who are engaged in a project enough to be able to hold a designer accountable for what they're doing or not doing, and a construction supervisor over what's going on a project. I don't know if that's a good answer, a full answer to your question, but that's my immediate reaction to it.
So, Fred, you have a question.
If anybody's asking a volunteer to committee to be a facilities manager or project coordinator, that is never going to work.
And?
A committee that meets once a month-ish can't be a project coordinator or a facilities manager. Getting back to the general conversation of, I thought what we're talking about, the review of the
Bylaw.
bylaw.
Okay. And do you want to add anything else to that, or you just feel it's not going to work?
Yeah. The responsibilities of facility manager or project needs to be a paid position.
Yeah.
That's the only people that are going to actually be held responsible. And if this committee was to take on all of this, any one of us could say, I don't want to do that anymore. You've probably seen it more than anybody on this committee. People get really involved and then they dissipate. Walk away. So if they take on all that responsibility, they're gone tomorrow.
Anyone else? Comments about the bylaw and the conversation that's taken part here? Yeah?
I do
And state your name, please.
Margaret Bacon,
Thank you.
and having, I agree with Matt, having worked for state agencies and a municipality, I understand the costs of these consultants. And then usually what happens, you pay all this money up front with these exorbitant costs, and then there's really no money left for maintenance and things like that. I find out maintenance really takes a back seat on everything, you know?
Yeah.
And so I get very frustrated with that. And so, you know, you look at the roads in Douglas, and there's no money to maintain, you know, and it's not the highway department's fault, it's just that I see, not here, but in other agencies, way too much is spent on the studies and the consultants, and that a lot of times that money just goes in a file drawer somewhere, you know, the study.
Anyone
But
else?
now, Madam Chair, if I can just
Sure.
jump on that for a second?
Yeah.
And to an earlier point that I think John made, which is, it's one thing to say we have all the information, but when you say you haven't seen it, I think there's a gap there, right? So we've got to gather all this information and organize it and put it in a format so that engaged members of the committee can review it. And then in terms of building consensus around priorities on that list, that would be huge help, right? A huge help. So the way I've always envisioned this, because you have a lot of committees, it is one of those things about a small town. You end up with a lot of civic participation. So you have a capital committee, and then the capital committee's recommendation goes to the finance committee, and then the finance committee's recommendation goes to town meeting. If building facilities were a place where we aired out the priorities of our buildings, and that report went to capital committee, and capital committee was told, you know, you're not going to advance this project over that project. We have met as a group, and this is what we think you should do, these top 5 things. And the capital committee has the budget to do those. And maybe there's some give and take with a public safety vehicle or some other large capital item. But then that becomes the marching orders for the capital committee to sort that out. And instead of having really long meetings dealing with this or that aspect of different buildings, they're looking at your work, balancing it according to the other capital needs of the town, including the schools, and then it goes to the finance committee as a final capital budget for the annual town meeting in the spring. So that's missing right now. We don't have that, and it would be a huge help. Because frankly, I don't know if any of us who touch this on a day-to-day basis feel like it's our authority or even our expertise to sort through, well, are we going to replace that group of rooftop air handlers versus this group? Are we going to handle which roof should have priority over another roof? And that's where, if I want to spend money on a study, I don't want to spend money on a big overarching study. I'd rather spend money on having somebody do a specific targeted analysis of a specific asset. Here's a good example of something that's a really pressing problem for the town. The electrical system at the municipal center. The municipal center is a main building with 2 additions. And as the building was built out, any number of shortcuts and workarounds were done to extend the electrical system. And then at one point, the schools fully upgraded the electrical system on the 2nd floor of the old high school. So now you have modern boxes interacting with very old 1925 boxes, and one of those circuits was deemed to be unsafe, so a breakout panel was done, which was supposed to have been temporary and still there. And we have all these ghost electrical charges floating around the building and shorting out equipment, making things difficult. So we're going to have to conquer this problem sooner rather than later, because the building's 100 years old, and if we want to do anything specific in terms of utilizing the upstairs space better, or just making the place safer and more reliable to meet the modern demands. A lot of our appliances in the modern world are much more sensitive to electrical fluctuations than the old days. Somebody needs to study it, right, and say what would be the best way to go about conducting this specific project. And that's the type of money that's well spent, because it would inform both our cost estimate of the project, whether or not it's an urgent thing or actually can be neglected for a couple of years before it's addressed. That's where we need some support. And I can't, to an earlier point, one of the difficult things about my position is that I recognize that the buck stops at my desk for a lot of things, not everything. Some of it goes up to the select board, but the buck does stop with me on many things. And I'm constantly the enforcer, and I'm constantly the one seeking accountability, and it's all a matter of personality, I guess, but as much as I relish the role of telling people that they need to shape up, the reality is, I believe the scrutiny that one gets sitting in front of a committee is way more important than any private exchange. And I feel sometimes isolated that I'm going back and forth with different people on different projects, when what I really want to do is drag them in front of a bunch of people who are taxpayers and have a chip on their shoulder and want to make sure that something is done right, and grill them, rather than just Matt doing it, or Bob and Eric, or Bob Sullivan, or anybody else who's been involved in some of the projects lately. Those things really make it sounds small, but it's huge, because it forces people to realize that they are being held accountable, and they're going to be subject to significant questioning, and they'll think about this before they make a decision or take an action, not after the fact.
Anyone?
Did Weston and Sampson get, they were going to see if that idea of the building that we've got so far will fit on the site. Have they done that yet?
So they've been working on that, and my understanding from the last contact the town has had with them is that they are going to be prepared to show us that in a couple weeks. So that's the latest update there. They've been, frankly, very good getting my bid package out for the fire station, and so that is on my list of priorities. I want that to go out to bid this spring, because I want the work done during the construction season at the fire station. I don't want the building to be open or subject to utility interruption during the bad weather later at the end of the year. So, but they should have sufficient staff to be able to parallel track both of these projects and get them done.
Fred?
We seem to be veering all over the place.
Yeah.
What I think, John, you're the one that wanted us to do the review of the. What was your goal of this discussion?
Oh, just to, so I've been here for 3 meetings and I didn't know what our charge was, right? And then I read it and I was surprised by some things that I read. And I'm pretty sure, based on other people that hadn't read it in a while either. So it's always good to go back and say what we're here to do.
100%.
And now talking with Matt too, I get it. If you want us to help prioritize some stuff, what I would recommend is that we take some of these studies that were just discovered, right, that people didn't know we had, right, and we can take a hack at it and say, based on this study, these are priorities, this is priorities, and we might need a working group or take time in a meeting to sit down and say, study A says these are the top 10 things. Oh, look, we've already done 3 of them because it was done 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. These are the next 5 things, these are the next 6 things. This is what we recommend. Have a conversation about it, and then maybe get some input from other folks or whatever and say, town administrator, this committee says these are the top 5 capital projects for the next 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and maybe that goes to the capital committee. And then in the meantime, there's some other things that we can say beyond that. These are probably the next things that need to get looked at. What would you like us to look at first? And then we can start talking about, oh, this specific thing, maybe that needs a study or a feasibility done. And again, that goes through you to procure that, or how we procure that, or the order and how we procure that. I think there's a lot of intelligence in this room that can help do that filtering versus it all just coming through the administrator's office and doing that. I think that's the big takeaway. There are other things here that we are charged to help you with, but I understand that legally we may or may not be able to in terms of review. And then the OPM piece, I don't know if there's a discussion about, can the town use members of this board or pay members of this board to do that activity for the town? I don't know, right? There are resources here that might be available for you to help you with that too. But the big one, I think, is how are we helping prioritize these things for the limited budget, resources, and time to get them executed in terms of our fiscal strategy, right? And I think that we can help shape that or inform that for the administrator and the Board of Selectmen. And I think that was the big takeaway.
Fred?
I believe this is, that what you're saying has been happening in my time on the board. We went and looked at a whole bunch of places into what the priorities need to be, and we find, I don't want to veer off to the highway barn again, but we've decided it's the highway barn, and so we are talking about. So I think a lot of what
So what's after the highway barn?
has been happening.
Like, do we have this?
well-
Like what I'm saying, is it published? Is it something?
Hold it, one at a time.
Oh, sorry.
It's in the minutes.
Yeah, it's in the minutes. It's been in every
Okay.
meeting. Nothing's
Yeah.
been withheld from anybody. I'm not saying you. Sorry.
So what I'll offer,
So, I'm sorry, but there actually was not too long ago, that whole package was all put together, and it was all gone through one by one. Fire station, police station,
Yeah.
this building, that building, that. So pretty much everything, what you just said, happened with these projects,
And
Am I-
continues to.
and continues to.
And we're right
Yeah.
now on hold. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
so I'll ask the question, that again, I'm new. Show me the document that says, next year, these are the top 3 projects, and when that one's done, this one's next, this one's next, this one's next, this one's next. That goes out 10, 15, 20 years. The only thing I've seen is that study that showed up today that's got a piece of that. If you want to manage this type of stuff, I've been doing this for 30 years. Going back and reading minutes and Word documents isn't, you should have a list of 1 to N of what you think you need to do, and it's prioritized based on 1,000 different things: input, stakeholder input, needs of the town, budget, etc. And as those things get completed, they either come off or they need to get deferred a year or 2 based on budget, but it doesn't go away until it's addressed. And if you want me, as a new member of this, to go back and read old minutes of these meetings to find out that the highway barn has more priority than the police station, then that's almost, it's extremely difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible. And we'd be doing ourselves a favor, and we'd be doing the town a favor if we could say, these are the top 50 projects we came up for Douglas, in the order that we think they should get done, and that can be briefed to the administrator and to the select board every select meeting. Hey, here's where we're at with our latest priority of stuff. Right? And if you think that's too hard, too much to do, then it's a recommendation. It's a very effective tool for what I do. I do this, I literally do this for 3 million square feet of property across the Commonwealth. So it's a way to say, these are the projects that are identified. These projects have been approved by this committee and the others that interact with it, right? We could come up with something foolish. Oh, we should build an in-ground swimming pool in the parking lot. That's dumb, right? It was brought to the board disapproved it, but it was identified, recognized, and then goes away. Oh, this is identified as something we really need, a highway barn. It's number 1 on our list. Well, how come it's not being actioned? Because we are in negotiations with the designer, and the designer's not giving us what we need just yet. That's briefable, it's readable, it's shareable, it's transparent. Makes it easier for people to understand that in the great scheme, including the members of this board, right? And part of this is my, I don't want to say naivety, but my newness, right? I'm new to how I haven't been part of these conversations. So I want to understand, and I want to help, and I want to move the ball forward. Like, that's where I'm at. So pardon me if some of this is coming from ignorance, because I haven't been here long enough to understand,
Understand.
but that's where I'm at.
Linda, any comments?
Madam
No?
Chair,
Yep. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't want to jump ahead of a member. Is somebody else looking for the floor?
No.
No? Okay.
I agree with John 100%. That the committee, I'm still going through things in my mind, right? In terms of how can the committee leverage all of us day-to-day workers better? Well, one is working with us to get this plan. And to me, that's a coordinated effort. So in terms of my staff allocations, I'm going to be looking to Adam Furno and to some extent the town planner and myself to begin to pull together these materials. And we need that plan, right? That plan is part of the accountability. And I'll reiterate a point I made earlier to John, which is that I don't think that the 2008 or whatever report was updated because I don't know that there was going to be anything the town could do with its resources. I will tell you, I read that 2008 study cover to cover, and I found it to be a description of pretty much the same issues that we face now in I read the report 2025, I guess. So 17 years passed, but most of the major items that were identified in the study back in 2008 were never addressed. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. When you go back and look at the finances of the town of Douglas, 2008, 2009, the whole country was going through difficulty and recession, and there just wasn't any money in Douglas for those kinds of projects. To the extent that you could accept debt, you accepted debt for the school side stuff. The other way that the committee can leverage us is thinking through the needs of the town and our existing stock of buildings. We have any number of buildings that we don't use. And as you know, I asked for a couple to be torn down because I thought, frankly, they were beyond repair and that I didn't want to insure them anymore and they didn't want to worry about them anymore. And that the cost of rehab would be way too expensive. It would be better to tear them down, build something new. But we do have a couple of buildings, specifically the old school, what most people refer to as the Veterans Hall on Main Street, that might be a good candidate for rehab. And I would look to the BFCC to be taking the leadership role in determining what it could be used for, whether or not it makes sense to use it at all, and to establish what the plan would be for that building. And then lastly, again, to John's point, there's a whole bunch of things we think of, but what's really important, and where a committee gives you a huge amount of leverage with all the good minds sitting around the table, is what have we missed? Have we been totally circumspect? Or are there aspects of this conversation that we, because of the immediacy of our different needs, we've neglected some long-term issue with some of the buildings? I think that's a place where we can surface the issues and really help inform a good plan.
Shirley, can I add something?
Sure.
To John's point, from a slightly different perspective, but similar, to his point about, relying on meeting minutes, I went through the same thing in the town of Rutland with the planning board there, where I said, okay, this developer's coming in and saying that they were allowed to make this modification to their plan. Where's the documentation? Oh, it's in the minutes. When? Now I have to go back and search a year and a half of minutes during all this public hearing. The other thing is, minutes are not a word for word. Minutes are a general overview of the discussion. That is not like a legal document. And I go through this with zoning bylaws in towns is, well, this was the intention of that bylaw. No, it has to be in writing because that's defensible. Conversations are not always defensible, but you need to have what your intent is in writing, or else you can ask 5 different people and you'll get 5 different answers in certain situations. So I agree with John 100% in terms of the importance of documentation and ease of finding information and having it memorialized.
Understand.
So I agreed with everything you said. All those things should absolutely be being done. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Looking through our committee's bylaw, that doesn't fall under our purview.
It does, though. Section 3A, develop, maintain, and implement a municipal building and facilities needs plan.
Oh, yeah.
we are specifically charged with coming up with that list.
You're correct.
Right?
That's probably the biggest.
I think that's the biggest thing out of this, right, so, and if you read about the liaisons, what I think it is we are the venue, the way I interpret this, right, and I'm no lawyer, we are the venue for members of the town, other committees, whatever, to say, I have this need, like I have this project need. It comes into here, we implement it into that prioritization, and then we are the ones that feed that, this is how we prioritize that. Mr. Administrator, Select Board, this is what we think are the priorities. Now these need to be resourced to be executed, right? Like, I think that's how this, the way I read that is how that's supposed to work. So if, out of the blue, the fire department says, you know what, we need a new building to store our SCBA gear because some new requirement. Oh, that's a need. Do we really need it? Yes, we do. Law says we do. How do we fit this in our current strategy? Well, the next fiscal year is already booked. It's not going to happen until fiscal year 29. We think it's going to be around this. We put it in the priority, and then we feed that to them to resource, right? Like, that's how I think we help manage the town's expectations, and then that document can be shared with the entire town. This is how this committee has determined our priorities of stuff. And if someone in the town has some way it should be some other way, we can gladly accept that input, take it into consideration, and that's what I think our charge is.
Right?
So you're absolutely right. So I think everybody's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So how do we make this actionable? What do we actually do?
So we've got to take, and I'm willing to take a big chunk of it. If we share these reports that we have, I can come up with a baseline straw man of this is based on what we have, what we can put our hands on, current priorities of the town. And then we can hash it. We can do a working group if we want to do something outside a meeting. Like, that's fine too. I don't think it'll take a lot of time to put it together. I think we just need to share those resources that we just talked about.
Very good. Yeah?
Can I make a recommendation that we make it an agenda item?
Yeah.
Work on the municipal building and facilities needs plan, so it's on for the next meeting?
Sure.
Yeah.
John will come back with what he's got in mind?
Yeah. Okay. Just
I have
one-
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are the water sewer department and the schools part of this committees? Because we don't seem to ever get anything from water and sewer,
Based on the language of the bylaw, if it's over $50,000, the answer is yes.
because they seem to be their own entities, the school and water and sewer. We don't oversee
And if
anything.
I would leave that to the discretion of the select board, how they want to handle that. Based on the black and white language of the bylaw, if it's over 50,000, it should be us.
Correct.
But if it's being executed by another committee, I don't know how we want to, do we want to take it on yet? Or do we want to deal with our stuff first and then see if we can make that work and then
Well,
add to or leave at or?
And that's probably something we can get into at our next meeting.
Yeah.
And have information provided to us for that. The one thing I feel very strongly about over the years being on this, involved, I vowed I would never leave an empty building. If we're moving something out of a building or it's no longer being used, I want to know what can it be used for? Because, or either it gets torn down. And I don't like tearing down good, stable buildings. The other thing I feel very strongly about, I want to know where we are, how much money we've put into working towards this building, and what have we gotten out of it. That's why I was like, wait a minute,
The municipal center?
no.
Or what
general.
building? Oh,
Each building.
But,
Okay, I
no,
get you.
yeah. And, for example, you say you haven't gotten anything out of the highway department for the, out of the architects regarding the highway department. So I think this is important. Did you turn upside down?
I think Pat,
I want to know where we are fund-wise, and, I mean, this is money that was being used for highway, or I should say, fire department, and we need to know what's been spent on it already, and where are we going? That's me. Go ahead, Fred.
How do the paper, the stuff that I talked about earlier, when we went and looked at all, there was a stack of papers. How do we get that to John? Who can put their hands on that?
What do you mean, a stack of paper?
We had,
Jen, maybe?
what's that?
Jen?
Jen,
The-
yeah,
Yeah.
Jen,
The-
John.
Oh, what is it called? How do we?
The review for the fire and the police
It was
and the
done in-
highway.
Yeah, it was done in this
done.
committee and the
Jen,
select.
actually, it was Lisa that emailed me that copy, and I think I sent it to you. It was just a needs. It wasn't that who was
Yeah.
going to be built first. It
Yeah.
was
Right.
just
No,
what did they
that's
need.
fine to start with.
Yeah, you sent it to me
That's fine,
electronically,
that's
right?
fine to start with, right?
Of course, you don't think I can find it.
You want some papers? I'll bring them to you. I was ready to throw them out. What?
So can we ask Jen to get those to John? And
We
Well, I'll
can.
see if I can find mine in my emails, and
Sure.
I'll ask Jen to resend it.
you're way more organized than myself. You can probably put your hand.
Or I might have deleted it.
No, but work with,
Yeah, we have
The
the files,
building-
we have the electronic
Okay.
files.
yeah, work with them, so, and if they have any questions or anything, with Jen or
Yep.
whoever, then we need to know it so that we're all on the same page and there's not, oh, this one did that and that one did that. I don't work that way.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely.
I would like to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Okay.
So when did this, I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
Carl, when
go
did
ahead.
this happen? When were these conversations? How long ago, Fred?
Narrow it down.
All right, so you're not sure, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I brought it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put my hands on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing, do we have an inventory of our, like, do you guys have a list of the facilities that the town owns?
It might be in that
think
report
Matt said you
that
had
Margaret has.
Or, yeah, that can be shared too. Because that's the limit of what, right, what we own, where it's at. I know Matt said he had some of that for the facility stuff, but that's helpful too.
Could probably go through the agenda of these meetings for the past
Couple of years.
couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we as a committee, as we've come on, we've tried to work through, move on.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And there's always the question, where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
Sure.
And sometimes we have to go beyond, outside of what we are specifically working on, and we've done that and probably too many times. And then it ends up being put off.
And
I serve on capital too, which I think is a good coordination because,
absolutely.
and what happens is, I believe, Matt, there's the thing regarding the electrical, as you mentioned, here at the municipal, and how long it's been put off, and it's not good. It's just been put off and put off. This is not good. I
We were
mean,
having issues just a week or two ago in my office where our computers were turning off by themselves, and Jackie and mine, we went several days without our phone because our phones died. So yeah, that, to Matt's point, that's,
And the way, again, to reference what we do, like my office, I identify requirements. I don't care, and I estimate budget. It is not my office's job to get the money. It is someone else's job to get it. And I can sit there and say, I have prioritized, this is what you should do first. You didn't fund it, it gets to the next FY. You didn't fund it, it gets to the next FY.
Yeah.
And I think our duty here is to identify those requirements, and it's the duty of the town leadership to budget those requirements, right? We have the charge to say, this is what we would fix first. Unlimited budget, this is what we'd fix first, right? And trust me, there's never enough resources, right, to do all of
right.
it. So that's fully embrace that. But that doesn't mean that problem doesn't go away. The electrical problems in this building aren't going to go away because you didn't pay
No,
for them,
they're
right?
not.
Like but now you have that document that says we identified this as a priority 2-3 fiscal years ago. When are we going to resource it, right? And that then gives you more leverage to say, we've identified this problem a period of time ago. It has been refused to be resourced for whatever reason. We really need to make this a true priority for the money side of the house, right?
So it's like having a check engine light and putting a piece of electrical tape over it.
You just take the bulb out. Just take the bulb out. It's no problem. Yeah.
And I personally don't feel I'm the one, or this board is the one saying, okay, we're not going to do this. I want to hear from the people that actually work here.
Right.
And I think that's important for everybody to include, because we can go around all day and say you're going to do this and that. And no, that's not our job. But we are here to help make it better.
Sure.
That's what we volunteered for. And it's not our personal choice when it sometimes comes up. It's something that shows us their top priority. Hey, I've been on long enough to have, I remember telling John Furno years ago, he said, well, I'm not going to get a good working place and healthy. I'm like, no. You need that garage, then you need to keep it on.
Right.
If you don't think it's going to be needed for the town, why did you come in the first place?
I think what you're describing is like what the capital committee has now. Like a 5-year plan.
That's what I
And you
asked for in the beginning.
stuff does get shuffled around or moved
Yeah.
to the top, but there has to be a plan, which
Yeah.
this committee has nothing.
Yep. Yep. Yes, Carol?
I'd like to go back to, like, what John has suggested a couple of times in his remarks, is that you really do need to have a working group, because there's no way that you can do this 1 hour a month here. And then going back to what Matt says, there's a lot of things that you may be chewing back and forth that you don't want to go on TV with. But, no, he even said that. There's things you don't say, because you got ideas that are maybe no good. But you don't need to put them, out there like, somebody comes up with an idea and then everybody at home listens and say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Well, maybe it's not a great idea. Do you know what I mean?
But
But
that's
somebody
not your
should be able to
choice.
say whatever they want.
That's right.
Right.
But that's not your choice as to whether it's a great idea or not. If you think it's good enough to come before this committee,
Oh, I agree, but we don't have, we can't do everything that he's
we're
saying
not
we need to
supposed
do.
It's supposed to be out in the open. It's supposed to be discussed. If
Well, then maybe we need to meet every week.
I don't think we need to do
No.
that.
No, I don't think we do
I think
either.
there's a muscle movement to get this started, and then keeping it updated is not a big deal.
So, Fred, you had a suggestion. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that we'll find out a lot at our next meeting when John comes in, as he's either going to say, oh, this is actually not going to be so bad, I found all this, or he's going to say, this is going to be a huge job, we need to form a working group, let's do this, so.
So
That's kinda where we're at now.
if I can get some access to what we've got or contact with who we need to talk to, that's fine, and then I can take a stab at it and bring it back for the next meeting.
So let me ask you this. We have upcoming meetings of April 15th and May 20th.
Okay, that was,
How about May 20th? Because the week before the 15th, I'm actually gone, so.
Okay. So you will,
I can bring a rough draft of something like, and compared to what I do for the May meeting, May 20th.
okay. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Are you agreeable?
Meet me down
Yeah,
there.
sounds good.
Are you
Let me-
agreeable?
let me just check
You want to be here for sure, right?
No,
Hey, Matt,
I mean, how's that
turn yourself up
work
right.
into when the town meeting is and everything else, that's all.
Making you seasick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Matt's fallen over.
What's his name in the back? Can he do that?
I don't think I can change his camera angle. Matt, you're sideways.
Your camera is rotated 90 degrees.
You're laying on your
like
side. I don't think you can hear us now.
We're almost,
No, I can hear you, but I'm using my phone for this meeting. I don't know.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, let me just check dates here.
So, Matt, you did hear that
May 20th, okay.
John is going to comprise some stuff, information and so forth for the May 20th meeting. All right, he'll make it.
Okay, and that's still going to be 10 o'clock in the morning? May 20th?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
And we are meeting April 15th. But are you all agreeable to that?
That's great.
Yeah, April 15th, I'll be absent. I'll be on vacation, so I won't be here for the
Okay.
5th. So that works out perfect.
All right.
Can I just?
Sure.
So you're going to prepare, just summarize, after you go through those reports and things like that, just a couple-page summary of what you...
Here's a list of what we've already identified.
Yeah.
Here's some general priority to it based on what I can figure out, and then we can start chewing on it and say, yes, no, maybe so. This got, we had a conversation, this project, we're not doing it at all. This project is already done, right? You might find some of that too. And then we can have something that we can bring back to meetings and say, this is what we're working on, here are the updates for the priority, and feed that to whoever needs it. And then get some long-range stuff after that.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Exciting.
Yes,
Your homework.
yes. Okay, and if you have no further discussion on
I
that-
think I've talked enough today,
All
so.
right. Okay, and we do have you had chance to read your minutes?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if this is the right spot for this.
No, go
Talking
ahead.
about the electrical in this building, it comes up in every meeting.
Yeah,
What do we need to do? It sounds like,
no,
Matt, tell us, what, do you need a recommendation from us to the Board of Selectmen saying we need to act on this, or
no. I
we
think
keep
it-
blowing over it?
I think it also has to have input from Capital, if I'm not mistaken, or...
Or put on their list.
No, they're,
Is the electrical on their list?
yeah, that's something that came up regarding budgets and so forth, I think. I heard it just recently. So let's see where we're going.
Can you
And,
make it an agenda item?
no, it's,
Matt, give us some,
It was in the minutes to be added to change.
yeah, but
Yes, it is here.
but that's for a vote or how funds are going or being recommended, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it could be put as an agenda item.
just discussion of.
Right.
Let's see what comes
So
out.
the last minutes, the municipal fire alarm item is going to be changed to municipal center upgrades, which covers sprinkler, fire alarm, electric, et cetera. So it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
But if there is something you need to get, you recommend a study to get an assessment of what you really need to do, Matt? Is that what you were asking for?
It's already in the BFCs.
Yeah, now assuming you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Am I still sideways?
Yes. But it's okay.
We won't look.
Okay.
I don't know if it's changing this.
Yeah, yeah.
there you go.
Yay, I'm not seasick anymore.
I think what we can do is brief you, and since we're in the building already, we could always walk down and you could see what I'm talking about. There's, I don't want to call it new technology, but the technology has made its way to our local
Yeah.
electrician, where they can use the scanner to determine where the wires are running from
Yeah.
what connection to what connection. And that's largely what I have in mind. We don't have a map of what connects to what in the municipal center. We have a general idea. We definitely know that the new boxes in one part of the basement were entirely for the second floor of the building when they were occupied by the school departments, those rooms upstairs. So, I mean, that's really, you can't possibly have a plan to fix it unless you know what you've got now, what your existing conditions are, and it's complicated by the presence of the police station. And, in some cases, they have some separate utilities. In some cases, they're joined with us. And so we just need to be thoughtful about what's there. That's definitely something that I'd like the committee to try to get behind, and we're perfectly happy to brief you. I will say, though, that this item was flagged in that 2008 study that you guys have been talking about today, and nothing has changed. It really is exactly the same as it was in 2008, other than the addition of a whole building generator, which was mostly work outside. The interior of the building is pretty much as it's been probably since the 90s.
Good.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Now, in terms of what I can bring to the table, and maybe I can circulate it for the next meeting, is for the first time, we did a really thorough investigation of all of the property of the town because we switched away from one insurance carrier to the other, and the new insurance carrier wanted to start from scratch. And we ended up, if you recall, greatly enhancing our insurance coverage across the town because we were underinsured in a number of areas. But we have a very detailed inventory of those things that are significant enough to be noticed by the insurance company, correct? And then on the facility side, on only the municipal buildings, Adam Furno has, for many, but not all, of our major systems, a maintenance record. Call it a database, for lack of a better term. And the same thing exists, so I'm told, on the school side for some of their major systems, especially air handlers. So there are significant raw materials in place. They just need to be organized and made useful. Right now, it's just data. We need to turn it into information.
And I'm willing to help with that. So if there's a way I can see that list or whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can bring that. If I can forward that around, there's nothing confidential about that.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Fred?
So when it comes to electrical in this building, don't we have to spend some money to do an analysis and action and recommendations and find out how can it go to capital and we have no idea how much it's going to cost? But I know we have to spend money to, how do we get that ball rolling?
I believe Matt has already got it on for doing that versus whatever else was supposed to be done. Because again, it's sitting there as a item.
You don't know for sure? Can we
It was
ask?
just mentioned, not here, but earlier. And you heard it.
We did?
I think it
Matt
was,
made that change last month where he
Yeah.
said, change the municipal
Yeah.
fire alarm to include all of that.
yeah,
So it's on the radar.
yes.
Right.
So let's see what we get back. All right? And what's going on with, because we're getting ready for town meeting, and you'll get, he'll be reporting to us.
So Matt, I'm sorry, Matt, Chair, do you mind if I ask Matt?
No, go right ahead.
So you're working on an analysis of the electrical system and getting real numbers?
No, that's what I'm going to need your support to do.
Okay, that's what I'm saying now. What do you want?
Yep.
Do you want us to make a vote on it? Let's
Brief you on what I know, and then establish the case for what needs to happen next, and then that can be the vehicle that we take to capital.
Okay. We clearly need to do something, we know this,
Yeah,
but we don't need to, we don't know what we don't know because we're not electricians.
yeah.
So I'm going to recommend but I don't know how, we can't put a dollar figure on how much it's going to cost to get that
That's
done.
right.
So can we just make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they spend an amount of money to do an analysis of the electrical system in the municipal center? Analysis and recommendations.
So, Matt, is that the route you want this board to go?
I think the recommendation would come from you. It would go to the capital committee.
Which is meeting the 25th at 2 o'clock?
Yeah, and this is a late entry into the race, I would say, for capital. But let's put it on the radar screen. Whatever happens to the capital budget, however amorphous that is, will have to be settled in the next week or two. So let's just put it on the radar screen for everybody to have in their decision set and let the process work from there. I mean, if it doesn't make it this time, it can make it for the fall. I'm not opposed to doing a one-off capital item in the fall if it makes sense and we have the money. Now, usually in the fall, we have a pretty good sense of what new growth has been certified for and our certified free cash number.
I have a question.
Yes, Lynn.
About the electrical and the
Yeah.
municipal. Is it a safety issue, Matt, or more of an inconvenience issue?
Good question.
Probably both.
Are we going to be on fire because of this old electrical issue we have?
Well, you're talking to a guy who has two fears more than any other, heights and electricity. So, my nightmare, right, is being electrocuted up on a pole somewhere.
Taking care of those people.
Electricity is dangerous by nature, but let's be honest, the hardware in the municipal center has been chuffing along here steadily for many, many years. There is no imminent threat or I would consider safety issue.
Okay.
I think what we're seeing as we add more and more electrical assets to the building, everything has a charger now, and it's all drawing electricity, and we have just old wires and old breakers that are supporting it all. It's just a matter of time when these things are getting taxed out, and they're starting to show these weird things like happened this past week with the Phantom. It was a circuit breaker that had failed but not tripped, that dealt with, that created John's problem down in his office. And, while we were investigating that, it just became abundantly obvious that the life of these assets has been exceeded and we need to pay attention to them. I don't feel like I'm putting anybody at risk having them come to work every day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep. You good?
Can you educate me, though? Does the capital committee typically work with things when they don't know what the dollar figure is?
No. But,
What I would do, just to inform the conversation, Madam Chair,
sure,
is for those, the electrician that was in the building most recently to fix this broken breaker, he had the technology to map out our wires. And I would be asking him just provide a quote, an estimate of what his service would cost. And that would be the rough estimate that we could go to capital with.
good, good, yeah. And it's open meeting, so.
So we're going to discuss doing this now or next meeting? Having Matt
No,
do that? He's just saying that's the way to do it.
That,
I think he
he's
just said he's
just
going to do
He's
it.
going to?
do
Yeah,
it.
that's how I
yes.
understood it.
Yep,
Oh, okay.
yep. He doesn't have to have our permission.
And he's gone.
Do you want to, or have you had time to read the minutes?
I have.
You have. And
I have a
you
couple
have?
of corrections.
Yes,
The number 2 at 8:20,
Yeah.
the sentence says, motion to recommend that the school committee recommend. It should have been appoint, because they would have been the appointing authority.
Yep.
And I wouldn't have said recommend twice. So that needs to be appoint Margaret. And then on B, almost at the end, where it says 3240 TS, right above that sentence, doesn't kind of make sense. They discussed different uses of the building, and if this round of bids don't pan out, what the next options for the town in selling this property, it should be what the next options are for the town in selling this property. So just insert the word "are," A-R-E after options. And that was all I have.
and where was that, Linda?
Right here,
Oh, sure.
insert
Yep,
the word "are."
okay. Any other corrections, comments? All in favor?
I'll make a motion to
Yeah.
approve the February 18th, 2026 meeting minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Margaret, you can't.
I didn't vote.
Okay, all right.
So you abstain.
Abstain, yes. And, all right,
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
sure.
So Fred, I did find on my computer needs assessments from 2022
That's it.
for fire, police.
Yeah.
So I need
Perfect.
your email so I can send
Sure.
those to you.
Absolutely.
If you could write that down. So yes, I did
Gladly,
find those. There are
gladly.
3 of those from 2022.
Margaret, do you want a copy of that? Needs assessment?
No, I think,
I can send it to the rest of the committee.
Yeah, that.
Why don't you resend it?
That would be
Have it
good.
again.
We
Yeah,
have 3 new members since that happened.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Well, since that time also, there was a lot of work done. That was a work,
Yeah.
it started like this and then.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't
beyond
think
that.
anything was done on either of those plans, well, maybe part of fire.
You'll find
They
out.
had some of them.
Like, that's the point, right? You'll find out what you did or didn't do, so.
Yes, and again, we've had new members. Carol's
Yeah.
new, John, Margaret, and welcome. Linda mentioned last time, it's the first time we've had a full board.
Since,
In
and
a
I've been
long
on this
time.
board for about 15 years.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'll
exactly.
send those off this afternoon. I'll get those to everybody.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
thank you, yes.
Appreciate it.
Good
Yes.
start.
And what Margaret had found out.
That's electronic too, I thought.
Is it?
Is it electronic?
And yes.
Oh, send it to
good.
all of us then. Ah,
Do you guys want that too?
What a
Yeah, that'd be
wonderful
great.
world.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, my God, I just got chills. We got some?
What a wonderful world.
Yes.
all right.
That's still a
Any
draft.
further discussion?
Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn at, what time is it up
It is
there?
11:28.
Wow, long go.
Second.
All right.
You second? Anybody second?
It's still in draft.
Motion second, all right, so it was, okay,
I made the motion, Bob second.
Bob second, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.